Karen claims she owns the public beach. She was banned from the property for life. The letter landed on my porch like a grenade with the pin already pulled, stamped in red, cease and desist, private property violation. My name is Elliot Cross, and 48 hours earlier, a woman named Marcia Whitlock told me I had no right to walk on a beach my family had used for 30 years. She said it with a smile, the kind that never touches the eyes, standing barefoot on sand that belonged to no one and everyone. "This is HOA property now, sweetheart," she said. "Board voted. You're trespassing." I laughed. She didn't. That was my first clue this wasn't a joke. I moved to Cedar Cove 3 years ago, a quiet strip of coastal homes in North Carolina, drawn by the smell of salt and the promise of peace. I work remotely as a structural engineer, the kind of job that makes you read fine print for a living, a habit that would matter more than I knew. My neighbor Dana warned me early, watch out for the HOA board. Especially Marcia. She runs it like her personal kingdom. I didn't take her seriously. HOA drama felt like sitcom stuff, annoying, not dangerous. I was wrong. Dead wrong. Marcia Whitlock had been HOA president for 11 years, unopposed, because nobody wanted the headache of running against her. She controlled the newsletter, the budget, the fines, and, apparently, she believed she controlled the tide itself. The beach access path behind our block had been public since the county deeded it in 1987, a detail buried in records nobody bothered to check. Marcia didn't care about deeds. Marcia cared about control. It started small, a fine for my mailbox being 2 inches off code. Then a warning for my grass being aesthetically inconsistent. I paid the fines. I trimmed the grass. I told myself, pick your battles. Then came the sign. Overnight, a shiny new placard appeared at the beach path: private access, HOA members only, violators will be fined. Residents who weren't on Marcia's good side suddenly found themselves, not members in good standing, locked out of a beach they'd walked their whole lives. My elderly neighbor, Mr. Alvarez, was turned away trying to watch the sunrise like he did every single morning. He was 81. He'd lived there since before the HOA existed. That was the moment something in me shifted from annoyed to angry. I started asking questions at the next HOA meeting, the folding chair kind held in a stuffy clubhouse that smelled like old coffee. "Where's the deed proving this beach access is private?" I asked. Marcia's smile flickered for half a second, barely visible, but I caught it. "The board has documentation," she said. "It's not for public review." That sentence told me everything. She was hiding something and she knew it. I started digging. Quietly. Patiently. The way an engineer checks a foundation before trusting the building above it. County records are public. I requested the original 1987 plat map the very next morning. While I waited, Marcia escalated. She fined me $500 for unauthorized landscaping, a garden gnome I'd owned for 2 years. I paid it. I smiled at her while I did. Let her think I was folding. Behind the scenes, I was building a folder. I called it, half joking, the Marcia file. It wouldn't stay a joke for long. Dana told me Marcia had done this before, driven out 3 families in 5 years who dared to question her. One family, the Nguyen's, left after Marcia filed a lien on their house over a $40 fine that snowballed with processing fees. $40. A lien. A family gone. I felt sick reading their old complaint in the county archive. I realized this wasn't about grass or gnomes. This was about a woman addicted to power over people too tired to fight back. So I decided not to be tired. I emailed the county clerk's office requesting certified copies of the beach easement documents, careful to keep everything on record. 3 days later, the plat map arrived in my inbox, and the first real crack in Marcia's story appeared. The beach path wasn't HOA property. It never had been. It was county land, deeded for perpetual public access. Marcia's private access sign was not just petty, it was illegal. I sat with that fact for a long moment, feeling the shape of a plan start to form. I didn't confront her yet. A man who shows his cards too early loses the hand. Instead, I photographed the sign, time-stamped it and filed a quiet complaint with the County Code Enforcement Office. 2 weeks passed with nothing. Bureaucracy moves slow. Marcia moved faster. She called an emergency HOA meeting, claiming troublemaking residents were spreading false rumors about beach ownership. She looked directly at me when she said it. If anyone has a problem with the board's decisions, she said, they're welcome to move. A few residents chuckled nervously. Nobody defended me. I understood why. Everyone was afraid of her. I stayed silent that night. Silence, I was learning, could be a weapon too. The next morning, Marcia doubled down. She had a construction crew install a locked gate across the beach path. My daily walk to the water now ended at chain link and a padlock the color of Marcia's spite. Mr. Alvarez stood at that gate for 10 minutes, just looking through it, before walking home. That image stuck with me for days. An old man, locked out of the sunrise. I decided the county complaint wasn't enough. This needed pressure from more than one direction. I started talking to neighbors one by one, not in the clubhouse where Marcia could hear, but on porches, over fences, in driveways. I learned penguins weren't the only casualties. 6 families in 11 years had been fined, liened, or driven out. Every single one had questioned Marcia publicly before it happened. The pattern was too consistent to be coincidence. I started recording HOA meetings, legally, openly, with a small camera on the table, which the bylaws didn't forbid. Marcia objected immediately. That's an invasion of privacy, she snapped. It's a public meeting about public rules, I replied calmly. Nothing to hide, right? Her jaw tightened. That was twist number 1, the moment I realized fear, not authority, drove her control. A woman who owns her power doesn't flinch at a camera. The meeting minutes that night were suspiciously vague about the gate installation vote, because there had been no actual vote. Marcia had approved the gate herself, citing emergency board authority that didn't exist in the bylaws. I now had 2 violations on record, a false property claim and an unauthorized unilateral decision. I felt the ground shifting under her feet, even if she didn't feel it yet. That week, the county finally responded to my complaint, with a notice requesting Marcia provide proof of the HOA's beach ownership within 30 days. Marcia received that letter and, according to Dana, tore it in half in the clubhouse office. She didn't tear up her problem. She just made it bigger. Instead of backing down, Marcia got creative and vicious. She sent a mass email accusing certain residents of harassment and defamation against the board. My name wasn't printed, but everyone in the neighborhood knew exactly who she meant. Some neighbors started avoiding me at the mailboxes, afraid of becoming targets themselves. It hurt more than I expected. Isolation is a slow, quiet kind of cruelty. But it also confirmed something: Marcia was scared enough to attack character instead of facts. I kept my head down and kept documenting every fine, every letter, every inconsistency in the meeting minutes. Then came a twist I hadn't planned for. Marcia's own son, Tyler, knocked on my door one evening, looking nervous. 081, I need to tell you something, he said, but you can't say it came from me. Tyler worked part-time doing IT for the HOA's record system, and he'd seen things his mother didn't know he'd seen. She's been forging board votes, he whispered. Meeting minutes that never happened. Signatures copy-pasted. My pulse spiked. This wasn't just overreach anymore. This was fraud. Tyler slid a flash drive into my hand. I can't be involved more than this. She's still my mom. I understood. Family is complicated, even with a monster in it. That flash drive held 6 months of falsified minutes, including the fabricated emergency vote for the beach gate. I now had documented proof Marcia manufactured HOA decisions to serve her own agenda. I felt something between triumph and dread, the weight of what came next. I didn't leak it immediately. A weapon fired too early misses its mark. Instead, I contacted a real estate attorney who specialized in HOA disputes, a sharp woman named Priya. She reviewed everything, the plat map, the falsified minutes, the pattern of fines and liens, and went quiet for a long moment. "This isn't just an HOA dispute," Priya said finally. "This is fraud, false imprisonment of public access and possible embezzlement." Embezzlement. That word hit like a wave. Priya explained, HOA dues fund public-facing amenities. If Marcia diverted funds for a gate on land she didn't legally control, that was misuse of association money. I asked for the financial records. Priya said we needed more than a request, we needed leverage. So we built a case, brick by brick, the way I'd build a bridge, nothing left to chance. Meanwhile, life at Cedar Cove tensed further. Marcia increased patrols, hired a private security guard to watch the gate. She started calling it Whitlock Point on the community signage, as if renaming it made it hers. The audacity almost impressed me. Almost. One evening, I caught the security guard, a tired man named Ruben, on his smoke break by the gate. We talked. He hated the job. He hated Marcia more. "She told me to log anyone who even looks at that gate too long," he said, shaking his head. "Woman's obsessed." Ruben agreed to keep a simple log of whom Marcia personally instructed him to turn away, proof of selective, discriminatory enforcement. Another ally. Another brick in the wall closing in around her. I brought everything to Priya, the plat map, the falsified minutes, the financial gaps, the discrimination log. "We're ready to file," she said, "but timing matters. We want maximum impact, not just a lawsuit, a reckoning." I liked that word. Reckoning. We decided to request an official audit through the County HOA Oversight Board, forcing Marcia into public scrutiny before any lawsuit even landed. The audit request went in on a Tuesday. By Thursday, Marcia somehow already knew. She cornered me at the mailboxes. "I know what you're doing," she hissed. "You think you're smart." "I think the law is smart," I said. "I'm just reading it." Her composure cracked for the first time in public. A small crowd of neighbors watched, stunned into silence. That crack was twist number 2, the untouchable queen of Cedar Cove could be rattled after all. Word spread fast. Suddenly, neighbors who'd avoided me started reaching out, quietly sharing their own Marcia horror stories. Penguin's old complaint. A veteran fined for a flag pole too tall. A single mother threatened with a lien over unpaid fines from a hospital stay. I compiled every story. The folder that started as the Marcia file had become a dossier thick enough to choke a courtroom. Priya filed the formal complaint with the county the following week, citing fraud, unauthorized fund use and illegal restriction of public land. Marcia received the notice on a Friday afternoon. Dana texted me a photo of her storming out of the clubhouse, red-faced. For the first time in 3 years, I slept easy that night. But Marcia wasn't done. Cornered animals don't retreat quietly, they lash out. Monday morning, I found my car's tires slashed, all 4, in my own driveway. No note. No proof. But I didn't need proof to know exactly who was behind it, even if I couldn't say it in court. I installed a doorbell camera that same afternoon. Small investment. Big return, as it turned out. 3 nights later, the camera caught grainy footage of someone in HOA-branded gear near my mailbox at 2 a.m. The footage wasn't clear enough to identify a face, but it was clear enough to file a police report. Cedar Cove had never seen an actual police cruiser at an HOA address before. Now it had. Neighbors watched from their windows as an officer took my statement on the sidewalk. Marcia, watching from her porch, didn't come outside once. That silence was louder than any accusation she could have made. The county audit began the following week. Auditors requested 3 years of HOA financial records. Marcia's excuses started piling up: system errors, misplaced files, the previous treasurer's mistakes. Auditors don't accept excuses. They accept receipts. 2 weeks into the audit, a preliminary finding leaked: nearly $38,000 in unaccounted HOA funds over 3 years. $38,000. Known fines and mailbox violations suddenly felt like a smokescreen for something much bigger. Ruben, the security guard, feeling the walls closing in himself, quietly quit and handed his discrimination log directly to Priya. "I don't want to go down with her," he told me. "I just wanted a paycheck, not a crime." I didn't blame him. I thanked him. With the audit findings public, the County Oversight Board scheduled a formal hearing, and this time, the whole neighborhood was invited. Marcia tried one last maneuver. She called a private board meeting to restructure the HOA before the hearing, hoping to bury evidence. Tyler, her own son, texted me the meeting time before it happened. "She's trying to delete the digital records tonight," he wrote. "I can't stop her. But you can catch her." I called Priya immediately. We alerted the county investigator already assigned to the case. That night, an investigator quietly observed the clubhouse parking lot from an unmarked car, exactly as Marcia attempted to wipe the server. She was caught mid-deletion, records half erased, when the investigator knocked on the clubhouse door. Twist number 3, the same paranoia that made Marcia powerful was the same paranoia that finally destroyed her. Evidence tampering during an active county investigation. That charge alone changed everything. Word spread through Cedar Cove overnight, faster than any HOA newsletter Marcia had ever sent. By morning, the community Facebook group, usually full of lost cat posts, was flooded with residents finally speaking up. People who'd stayed silent for years suddenly found their voice, once they saw Marcia could actually lose. I felt something unexpected watching it unfold, not triumph exactly, but relief, like exhaling after holding my breath for months. The hearing date arrived 2 weeks later, held in the county community center to accommodate the crowd. Every folding chair was filled. Residents who had avoided eye contact with me for months now sat beside me, nodding. Marcia arrived in a tailored blazer, chin high, flanked by a lawyer who looked like he already regretted taking the case. She still believed, I think, that charm and confidence could talk her way out of paperwork. Priya presented first, the 1987 plat map, proving the beach was always public land, projected onto the screen for everyone to see. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Mr. Alvarez, sitting near the front, let out a slow, satisfied breath. Next came the falsified meeting minutes, side by side with the real dates Tyler had preserved, dates that proved votes never happened. Marcia's lawyer objected. The county chair overruled him. The evidence stood. Then the financial discrepancies: $38,000 unaccounted, cross-referenced with personal expenses, spa visits, a boat payment, a family vacation. The room gasped audibly. Even Marcia's lawyer looked down at his notes, unwilling to meet her eyes. Ruben's discrimination log came next, naming specific residents turned away by name, date, and Marcia's direct instruction. Then the tire-slashing police report and the doorbell footage timestamped the same week as my county complaint. Each piece alone might have been dismissed. Together, they formed an unmistakable pattern of abuse of power. Finally, the investigator described catching Marcia attempting to delete HOA server records mid-audit. "That's tampering with an active government investigation," the county chair said flatly. "That's not an HOA matter anymore." Marcia's composure finally shattered completely. "This is a witch hunt," she shouted, standing abruptly. "Sit down, Ms. Whitlock," the chair said, and for the first time in 11 years, she actually did. I watched her hands shake as she reached for a glass of water. The tyrant of Cedar Cove looked, for once, very small. The hearing recessed for deliberation. The hallway outside buzzed with quiet, disbelieving conversation. Dana squeezed my arm. "You actually did it," she whispered. "You actually beat her." "We did it," I corrected. Every neighbor who spoke up, every log, every quiet ally, it was never just me. 20 minutes later, the board reconvened. The chair read the findings aloud and the room went silent. Marcia Whitlock was found in violation of state HOA governance law, fund misappropriation statutes and public land access regulations. The beach gate was ordered removed within 72 hours, the path restored to full public access, permanently. Marcia was removed from the HOA board immediately, banned from holding any HOA office in the state for life. And then came the line I'll remember forever: Ms. Whitlock is permanently banned from this property, effective today. Not just the board. The property. Her own street. Her own beach view. Security escorted her out of the community center as murmurs turned into open applause. She didn't look back at any of us. She just walked, fast, chin still high but eyes down. Outside, reporters from the local news, tipped off by an anonymous resident, probably Dana, waited with cameras. Local HOA president banned for life after fraud investigation, the headline read the next morning. The story spread beyond Cedar Cove, picked up by a regional outlet covering HOA power abuse gone wrong. Strangers online called her the Beach Karen, a nickname that stuck instantly and painfully. I felt no urge to gloat publicly. The paper trail had spoken louder than I ever needed to. The following Monday, contractors arrived to remove the illegal gate, cheered on by a small crowd of residents with coffee mugs. Mr. Alvarez stood at the front of that crowd, arms crossed, waiting. When the last bolt came loose and the gate finally fell, he walked straight through, slow and steady, toward the water. He didn't say anything. He just stood at the shoreline for a long, long moment, sunrise catching the waves. I stood beside him quietly. Some victories don't need words. The criminal referral for evidence tampering and fund misappropriation moved to the district attorney's office within the month. Marcia hired a new, more expensive lawyer. It didn't matter. The paper trail didn't care about billable hours. 6 weeks later, she pleaded to reduce charges, restitution of the missing funds, community service and a permanent civil injunction. The injunction barred her from Cedar Cove entirely, including the beach, the clubhouse and even the community's private Facebook group. She had to sell her house. Nobody in the neighborhood shed a tear watching the moving truck pull away. Tyler stayed. He apologized to me privately one last time before moving in with his father across town. I know she's my mom, he said, but what she did wasn't right. I had to choose. I told him I respected that more than he probably knew. Choosing truth over comfort isn't easy for anyone. The new HOA election, held a month later, was nothing like the old ones: actual debate, actual questions, actual accountability. Dana ran for treasurer. She won, unopposed but earned, promising transparent books published quarterly. I was asked to join the board myself, mostly as the guy who read the fine print. I declined the presidency but accepted a seat. My first motion, permanently enshrine the public beach access into the HOA's own bylaws, redundant but symbolic. It passed unanimously. Even the 2 board members who used to avoid me voted yes without hesitation. Cedar Cove felt different after that, lighter, somehow, like a held breath finally released. Neighbors who used to whisper now waved from their porches. The mailbox line turned into actual conversation again. Mr. Alvarez started walking the beach path every morning again, exactly like before, exactly like he deserved to. Some mornings I joined him. He didn't talk much, but once he said, "Thank you for not letting it go." I told him the truth. I almost did, more than once. It was exhausting, being the guy who kept digging. But every time I wanted to quit, I thought of that locked gate and an old man staring through chain link at his own sunrise. That image kept me going more than any legal strategy ever could. Priya sent me a final invoice with a note attached: "Cases like this are why I do this job. Thank you for trusting the process." I framed that note. Small reminder that patience, not rage, wins wars like this. A few months later, I got a message from a stranger in another state, another neighborhood, another Karen story. "How did you actually beat your HOA?" she asked. "Mine's doing the exact same thing." I spent an hour writing back everything: the plat maps, the recorded meetings, the county oversight boards, the patience. It felt good, passing the blueprint forward. Knowledge, unlike Marcia's fear tactics, only grows stronger when shared. I started a small, informal group with a few other former HOA troublemakers from nearby towns, trading tips and templates. We called it, only half-jokingly, the Fine Print Society. It wasn't about revenge anymore, not really. It had become about making sure the next Mr. Alvarez never got locked out of his sunrise. Marcia, meanwhile, resurfaced 2 towns over, according to a mutual acquaintance, already complaining about her new neighborhood's lax rules. Old habits, it seemed, died harder than old grudges. But she had no board seat anymore. No gate to build. No power to hide behind. Just a woman, alone, with a permanent record. I heard she tried attending one Cedar Cove event months later, a beach cleanup, of all things, and was quietly asked to leave by 2 officers on standby. The banishment, it turned out, meant exactly what it said. For life. On the anniversary of the day I received that first ridiculous cease and desist letter, I walked down to the beach at sunrise. The sand was cool, the water gold with early light, the path wide open, exactly as it always should have been. Mr. Alvarez was already there, coffee in hand, watching the horizon like he had for decades before any of this began. "Good morning, Elliot," he said, the way he always did now, like it was nothing extraordinary. Maybe that was the real victory, a sunrise so ordinary, so unguarded, nobody needed to fight for it anymore. I thought about the folder that started this whole thing, still saved on my laptop, labeled simply, the Marcia file. I never deleted it. Some things deserve to stay as proof that patience and paperwork can outlast even the loudest tyranny. The gate was gone. The sign was gone. The fear was gone. What remained was a neighborhood that finally, truly, belonged to the people who lived in it. I won't pretend the process didn't cost something, sleepless nights, slashed tires, months of neighbors avoiding my eyes. Justice rarely arrives free of charge. Ours came with scars, but it came. Some nights I still think about the Nguyen's, the family who left before I ever moved in, who never got to see this ending. I wrote them a letter once the case closed, telling them what happened. They wrote back one line, "Glad someone finally stayed." That line stays with me more than any headline or hearing verdict ever could. Because in the end, this was never really about a beach, or a gate, or even Marcia Whitlock, it was about staying. Staying, watching, documenting, and refusing to let a bully in a blazer decide who belongs to the sunrise.